Good morning, friends. Today I'm going to be making a design I'm calling Shoulder Pads Purse, and this is a design you see on the computer screen, and it has a back panel also that I've created with the same beautiful quilting as in the lower part of the purse. So it's important that we make the back panel first so we have it ready when we're preparing the front panel at the appropriate place. We'll have it ready then to stick on. So first thing you need to, of course, just to get your hoop ready and put your stabilizer in, and we need to stitch out the first step, which is the lines, the exterior lines of the panel, the back panel. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back in a moment. Alrighty, you can see that I have run the first step, which is a placement line for the back panel. And the next thing we need to do is we need to take our whatever we're using as batting and place that over the placement lines, making sure that they are covered. And this is what I'm using, and they are covered. As you can see, there they are. And then take our back fabric, whatever that's going to be, and place that down, making sure that it also covers the placement lines. And I have done that, and I'm actually a lot of times, and today is one of those times, when I'm using a solid color, I put 2 layers because you can see through most of this solid fabric, unfortunately. So I've got 2 layers here of this green, and I'm going to take it now and to the embroidery machine, and the next, there are only 3 steps total. The second step is just going to go right back around again and tack this down so it's held firmly in place for all the beautiful embroidery quilting that's going to be done. So I'll meet you back over at the machine. Okay, you can see that I have I did run step 2, and step 3 will be the last step, and it will just be the beautiful quilting. So I'll start it and get back to you after that's done. All right, I'm back, and as you can see, the quilting has been completed. That was step number 3, and that was the so the back panel is now complete. Need to take it out of the hoop, so let's do that. And I'm going to take and just pull off the paper towel around the exterior here. Obviously, you can't do anything about what's inside here, so that'll have to stay, but I'm just going to pull that off. It should come off very easily. And then we'll just take this and set this aside, and now we'll start the main bag, the front piece. So you load the front of the bag in your embroidery machine and get your hoop ready. And I'm going to go ahead and do that and run the first step, which will be the placement of the exterior lines and the placement of the zipper. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back here in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back, and I ran step 1, which is the exterior of the bag and the area where to put the zipper. And I've done this, changed my zipper placement a little bit. If you have a 1-inch zipper, it should fit right between this top line and this bottom line here. It should fit almost perfectly. And then this center part is the area where the actual plastic coils of your zipper should be, because these are the placement. I ran the placement lines of where it's going to tack down your zipper, these 2 inside lines. So using all of those lines to get your zipper placed correctly, let's tape it down, and I'll tape it at the bottom, the center, and the top, and run the next step, which will sew it down. So I'll be back in a moment. All right, I have sewn the zipper down, and you can't really, well, maybe you can see barely the zipper, thread, because it is almost exactly the same color as the zipper, miraculously. So anyhow, the next step we will do is we'll turn the hoop over to the back, and we will take our first lining piece and put it face down, and we're going to put it right here at the edge. Let me see. The stitching will be this second line up. So we're going to put the zipper along this last line right here and make sure that it's centered between the two sides. So let me do that. Alrighty, that looks good. Alrighty, so, and then let's let it just roll over to the front like that. And let me grab a piece of tape, and we're going to fold this and turn it right like this, and we're going to tape it down. So hopefully it'll stay there for the next 4 or 5 steps. Now we're going to take our top piece of here on the front of the bag, our piece that's going to be along the top of the bag, and put it, I'm going to line it directly with the edge of the zipper, like I did actually on the back also. So let me try to get this right. Okay, there's one piece, 2 pieces, and one more. Come on. All right, now I'm going to take and run this next step, which I believe would be step 3, which will tack down the front piece of fabric and the lining on the back side. So I'll be right back. Okay, I ran step 3, and I've turned it over to the back of the hoop, and you can see that it ran perfectly, the line of sewing there to hold that down. So let me turn it back over, and you can see that it also did a lot, obviously the same line. It's on perfectly, so I'm happy with that. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to take our piece of lining. We've already used one piece of lining for the back of the bag, for the back panel, but we need to have another piece of not lining, excuse me, batting, and this needs to be cut 6 by 11. So I'm going to stop a minute and trim it because I noticed I haven't done that, and then I will be placing it right under, about 1/4 inch under the stitching here. So let me stop and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have trimmed that piece of batting, I'll call it, for lack of a better term, and now I'm going to take and fold down. You can see where I'm about 1/4 inch under the stitch line, and I'm going to take the fabric, this top front fabric, and fold it down. And I have turned on my iron, and it's heating up, so I'm going to take this to the ironing board and give it a little press so it will lay nice and flat, and then I will run the next step, which would be 4, I believe, which will sew this down right here under the zipper, round on all sides here. So let me do those 2 things, and I'll meet you back in a moment. All right, I ran step 4, I believe it was, and you can see it has tacked this down all around all sides, holding it in place securely. And the next thing we will do is we will take this back to the embroidery machine, and it will run the placement line for the what I'm calling the shoulder pads for the applique right through here. So hold on while I do that and I'll be right back. Okay, you can see where the placement lines are, and I'm going to take my applique fabric, the bottom fabric, and I've just cut it the same size, 11 by 7, which is what I cut all my pieces for a 10 by 6 hoop, except for that little piece of batting that I trimmed an inch off of. So anyhow, I'm just going to place this over this, smooth it out, and I'm going to run the tack down stitch on this, and then I'll be doing the trimming. But anyhow, I'll get to that in a moment. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and you can see I've tacked down the applique fabric, and I'm going to take the hoop to my kitchen counter and take my sharp applique scissors and start right here and cut across here and right against these stitches, hopefully not cutting the stitches away, which I do frequently, but getting as close to the stitches as you can without cutting them away. And I'll end up just straight over. When I reach this point, I'll go straight over and leave all of this alone at the bottom. So we'll just be removing this top part, and after this step will be the satin stitches. So anyhow, let me stop and do that, and I'll meet you back in a few minutes. All right, you can see that I have done the trimming there, and I did a pretty good job. I'm not the best, but I got pretty close to it, pretty close to the stitches without cutting into them. So now I'm going to take the next thing that will happen is the running of the satin stitches. So that'll be where I'll be doing that now, and I'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, the satin stitching has been completed, and I have pressed it to make it nice and flat because the stitching is very thick and it gets a little wrinkly, but I believe in giving it a firm pressing. I press almost every time that I place something down, one of the pieces down. I just think it makes it look nicer, but that's just my own feeling. Anyhow, the next step would be quilting along this top piece. However, since it's pretty busy with the stripes, I'm not going to quilt it, but I am going to quilt the bottom part here, which is the same quilting as this here. That is on the back. So let me go and take care of that. So I'm skipping the one step and going to the next step with the quilting here. So I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, the quilting is done. I think it's just really amazingly beautiful. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to finally release this tape here and let this piece of lining fall to the back. And let me try to take off these pieces of tape here because they're not needed. And I can't, that one can stay, that doesn't matter. And then just fold this down and just now take some tape and tape on both sides. And let's go back to the machine and we'll run the next step, which will sew a line going all the way around here to tack down this lining piece. So let's do that and I'll be right back. All right, you can see that stitching has occurred all the way around, and let's turn it over so we can see the back, and you can really see it here. So that's just what we wanted to happen. Now it's held down. So the next thing we're going to do is take off this piece of tape up here open the zipper. Well, this is always a challenge. And oh, wait a minute, I think it's coming. All right. Once again, I was able to do that somehow. And then the next thing we're going to do is I've got my little pieces here of to attach that will be for putting straps on. So I put them about an inch inside this the exterior side stitching. So I'm going to just kind of eyeball it. And put tape at both on the metal and up here at the top. And what this is just grosgrain ribbon. I cut it 3 inches in length, and I fold it over, and before I fold it I put in the metal ring, and then I just staple the top of it so it stays together. The staple's right here, it's way out of the stitch line, so that won't be a problem. And let me place the other one. Okay, now we've opened our zipper, and the next thing we have to do is we have to take our panel that we have already made and place it. Here's the panel. We're going to place it face down, and as you can see, I tore away the stabilizer, the paper towel, and we're going to place this hold on, let me stop the camera for a moment. Okay, I have placed the seams basically matching on the side, on both sides. I'm trying not to move it too much. So the seam of this right here, where my finger's pointing, with the seam here, match that up, match them here at the bottom and on this side, and of course here it's at the top it's well over the zipper, which I always say at least be a 1/4 inch over past the zipper, which it is way over. So I'm going to take and after I put the camera down, I'm going to adjust it one more time, and then I'm going to take some tape and just tape it on the sides here to hold it while I get to the embroidery machine, and then it will go around and stitch the entire bag closed on all 4 sides. So let me inspect it one more time and tape it, and I'll be running that next step, and I'll be back after that. Okay, I ran this, I think it was step 11, and it has tacked it down on all sides, and then we're going to turn it over, and you should have one piece of fabric left, which is a piece of lining fabric, and we need to take it and place it over this entire design, making sure you're about a 1/4 inch at least above the zipper line or the exterior line of the bag. So let's do that. Okay, that looks good. And then here, let me see where we're at. Okay, so let me tape that down on all 4 corners. Oh, it slipped a little. All right, that's not good. All right, okay. All right, I've taped that down on all 4 corners, and I'm going to take and run the last round of stitches, and this will close it up on the 3 sides up here across the top on both sides, but leave an opening here in the bottom for me to turn the bag through So let me do that and I'll be right back. All right, the last round of stitches has been run, and it's you can't tell much here on the front, but on the back you can see where we added this last piece of lining, and now there has been an opening left for us to turn the bag through, which now I'm going to take this out of the hoop and I'm going to trim around the entire. I trim from this side. I'll start right here and trim about 1/4 inch to the outside of the stitch line here. And then when I get down here, I'll stop and I'll leave this alone. I won't bother this at the moment. But when I get down to this point right here, I'll cut it like that on an angle on each side, just like this, because we're going to be tucking these pieces in a moment. So let me go and do the trimming, and I'll be back momentarily. All right, you can see I have trimmed all around the exterior, and I did as I said here at the bottom, cutting at an angle on each side, slight angle. So I'm gonna pull these two pieces back of the lining, and then the rest of this can be all the rest of this can be just trimmed off right here above the stitch line, just right where my finger is, very close there, without cutting these two pieces off. So let's stop and do that. All right, now let me pull these two pieces back, and you can see where I've trimmed the rest of that, and it was just junk. Just threw it away because it serves no purpose at this point. So what I'm going to do now is turn the bag out through here, and I'll be right back. All right, what I'm going to do now is take these. I've turned the bag out, and you'll see on both sides you have this is the lining fabric. So I'm just going to take this first piece of lining fabric and turn it under like this and press it down. Then I'm going to take the longer piece and fold it in and press it, and then I will take it to the sewing machine and I will sew from this point to this point right along here, closing the bag up at the bottom. So let me do that. But first I've got to press it to make it nice and flat. All right, as you can see, I turned everything in and I've stitched a line across here, closing up the bag at the bottom. The last things you have to do is remove the whatever kind of stabilizer you've used from the zipper itself. So I will remove this, which is paper towels. I'll remove that from the zipper line, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, as you can see, I've taken, and the nice thing about paper towels, with just your fingernail, you can get rid of that. And so that's that, and I'm going to take and open the zipper the rest of the way, or down here at least where my finger's at, and turn the bag out the last time, and then I'll show you what the completed bag looks like in just a moment. All right, it is finally completed, and there we have it. And let me show you where it comes together at the bottom. And on the sides. And along the top. And let me tell you, pressing is your friend. The iron is your friend. To make it look nice, you have got to press it into shape, which I've done, and it is nice and flat. And anyhow, so I thank you for watching me prepare this shoulder pads purse today, and I hope if you buy the pattern, you will make yourself something beautiful. And I'll be back in a day or so with another pattern and tutorial, hopefully. Thank you again. Bye-bye.